Welcome back to the podcast. It is so nice to be here with you today. It is very gloomy outside and it makes me want to take a nap, honestly. So I am excited to talk about a topic I either posted about on my Instagram or made a video about it and have not posted it yet. So I get in this little cycle where I'll make a bunch of videos at like one moment in time when I'm feeling really good, which I'm glad I started to do that because the days I don't feel like, doing anything, it's like, oh, I've already got stuff saved. Anywho, pro tip. But one of the things that just kept coming up for me recently is really like, okay, if I were to go back in time to, like, let's say my 18-year-old self, I would not change anything. This is how I strongly feel about this. I would never change anything. How it's silly and foolish to think that you would want to change stuff because, that's how you got to where you are now. And I'm not saying, with everything in your life, the choices you made, and like that makes you the person you are now. So, anyways, but if I could, so like when I think about this, if I could tell my 18-year-old self, or things I want to tell my daughter or my son, or younger people in my life that want advice, I'm not going to give them unsolicited advice, of course. But if my opinion is asked, like fucking get on with the point already. I think it is so important to live by your design. That has broken down a lot of things in my life for me, but for the better. Like, I feel more myself and things seem to flow a little better. And I understand, I think like the big thing was like under my understanding myself more. I'll get it, guys. Because you kind of just honestly go through life on autopilot. And I don't know. That's like our conditioning and, fear of what other people will think, fear of what the future holds, and blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking like I could tell my kids this when they're 18, but I'm not doing that. I'm not telling them now their energy types are like, oh my gosh, you've got a lot of Cancer and Scorpio placements. You are going to be an emotional little being. And your kids are meant to just learn and grow up and see what they like, see what they don't like. It is very helpful to know their design type and also their profile. But that's a conversation for another day. I'm not like, oh, hey, you little manifesting generator, you go, use up all your energy. Like, you don't know that stuff, but I know it. And I know, where their profile is, and they actually have the exact same, which I think is cute. What are the combinations? I think there are 12 different combinations. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. It's not like a bunch, and it's also not like a little, but I think it's very interesting that my children both have the same profile. But they're 1-3s, and I know that, and I know that means they're going to experiment more, and they're going to want to figure out things for themselves a lot of the time too. And being aware of their types makes it easier for me to be like, okay, yeah, they are going to run me ragged because they both are little sacral beings. They've got a sacral energy. We've got a manifesting generator and a generator on my hands. So I am a manifester, and that is hard. Like, I feel like, and I mean, this is just my experience and my point of view, but those of us that are manifestors or projectors, or that small percentage of reflectors, like as moms, it's like totally different. Like, your children are most likely, I mean, they could be the same or similar type, but like I feel like there's a good chance. I mean, especially if you have more than one, at least one of them's a generator, a manifesting generator, and those kids are like running you ragged. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm too much energy. I need some time alone. Especially when they're little, man. Oh my gosh. Hey, but it's good. It's good, don't get me wrong. Um, but the importance of knowing, your family's types and things like that. And then you get in a rabbit hole and start asking your friends too. I mean, that's all good. And that's, yes, I love that. I love that path if you're going down that path. But if you don't understand yourself first, then it's all for naught, as Meredith would say. um, if you don't get that, I'm sorry. But understanding yourself is the first place to start. It is so important to understand how your energy works. It is so important to know how your aura works too, because you might be wondering why people are so, like, more likely to come up to you or talk to you, or why are people being repelled by me? Why does no one seem to understand what I'm trying to portray or think, or why can't anyone read my mind? That's what a manifestor would say. Knowing your type is the first step, and then growing upon that strategy and authority are super important too, because your strategy is going to be like how you easily move through life. Manifesting generators and generators, you're going to be good at responding to things. That's how you move. If something's lighting you up, person, place, thing, opportunity, whatever, if you're feeling really good about it, and granted, this kind of goes into decision making too, which is your authority, but you are going to get that, sacral response, and you're going to know if, something isn't quite aligned for you. On the other hand, projectors, you need to wait for your invitation. You see people in a way that they cannot be seen. You are such, a guide, but I think there's disconnect when maybe you were giving advice where it wasn't necessarily wanted. And that's where you can feel like, oh my gosh, like people don't like what I have to say, or they just don't get me, or blah, blah, blah. It's very important for you to wait for that invitation, for, the advice or guidance that you are so good at giving, because you want people to recognize your brilliance too. You want people to appreciate what you're saying to them. And that will happen. You will be surprised when you start to actually, take that into account and live by it and see, yeah, where are people in your life asking for your opinion on things, and it may be, personal, career, whatever. But then being able to, give them that guidance and maybe show them what they're missing, because we're all guilty of it. Like, we're human beings. We need to have an outside opinion sometimes to kind of call us on our crap. Because we are sometimes blinded to the, the old shenanigans that we do all the time. And it's like, oh, let's look at it from a different lens. And okay, thank you, projector friends. That makes total sense. Manifestors, your strategy is to inform, to initiate and inform. The the old informing piece. It's rough. It is the only strategy that doesn't come as naturally to someone, because you basically need to tell, not like you don't need to shout it from the mountaintops, but the people that your decisions are going to affect, you need to tell them. You need to inform people what you're doing. Your aura is repelling, it's closed off, it's big, but people can't really see you or know what you're talking about. And that, for me personally, has been very interesting to navigate, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like my whole life makes more sense now, and me getting so frustrated and angry when people just didn't get it. And it's like, okay, I'm not speaking, I'm not using my throat chakra to explain how I'm feeling or what I'm trying to get at or blah, blah, blah. So that was very eye-opening to me. And then the reflector friends. Oh my gosh, you guys. I don't know if I told you this. I have pulled a reflector chart, and it was so exciting. So a good friend, her daughter is actually a reflector. And it's funny, when we were speaking about human design and things like that, and we were talking about kids, and then she was like, well, I really feel like my daughter is definitely non-sacral. Once you get into this stuff, you can pick out the people in your life. It's very fun. And you're like, yep, you definitely do not have sacral energy. You are not a manifesting generator. But she's like, yeah. And she's like, she might even be a reflector. And I was like, that would be crazy, because that's like 1% of the population. And sure enough, she pulled it up. And then she's like, can you double check this for me? And I was like pulling it up and like, OMG, a reflector. So a reflector strategy is actually to wait. It's the same as their authority, which I think is interesting, but it's like very important for them to wait a lunar cycle to make a big decision. And this is because like all their centers are opened. So the rest of us have, different centers that are defined, undefined, or open. And reflectors, they're just all open. So they're just taking in that energy from everyone else in their life, which I can't imagine how that feels. Like having an open emotional center, like an open solar plexus, is overwhelming a lot of the times. I just can't, like all of them being open. I can totally understand why a reflector would need, alone time to recharge, all that fun stuff. So for big decisions, and like it makes sense for them to wait so long, because they need to kind of try to get to a neutral state. And I mean, that's a lot of the times with my emotional, okay, we'll talk about that in a second, like my emotional authority, getting to a neutral state before you make those big decisions. So like knowing that type, that strategy, the authority, there's 8 different authorities. I don't want to go through them all right now. But knowing, so your like authority is how you make decisions, and based on that, you can start small. For example, my authority is splenic, which, I only experience my own, but I feel like it's a difficult one. It's the instinct. It's literally trusting yourself in the moment. It's being spontaneous with decisions. And that shit frightens me most of the time, if I'm being really honest. Like, I'm a, like, take it slow, indecisive. I'm a Libra. And it's I like to, pros and cons and blah, blah, blah. But that's not actually, if I'm living, in my true alignment and like really want to get in that flow, I need to like make these decisions, like listen to what my spleen, my intuition is telling me. I don't remember the percentage of people that have that authority, but if you do, reach out to me and let me know how it's going for you, because I feel like we could have a support group, because I'm always reading and learning more, like, okay, how can I figure this out for myself, and starting to trust that more. And it's been an interesting journey. So yeah, if of course when I find any like tips or tricks or secrets, I will definitely share them, because I feel like that's needed. So, you have some people that, need to like wait for the clarity to come, and because they want to get in that neutral state and not be riding high on like, oh, this feels so good, but actually I'm just gonna like, oh, bottom out at the bottom. And there's nothing wrong with like any type, even if you are this, need to be spontaneous, it's okay to also wait if you are super unsure, because sometimes there are big decisions and you're like, am I making the right decision? That's been like a big, part of my own life. And you'll know. I think you'll know. I think on like some level, you always know. You're kind of just like in denial or fear. So more on that later. But the type, strategy, authority. Then with your type, I mean, you can get into, I think it's super easy to follow your signature and not self-theme. So just like understanding when you're feeling frustrated, manifesting generators, that something's out of alignment, and really pursuing maybe something different. Or when you're feeling satisfaction, you're like, oh, this is good, this is perfect. Projectors, I forgot your signature. I'm sorry, friends, but I know if you're feeling bitter, that's a bad sign. Bitterness, I can picture that. I can't see the other one. Manifestors, anger and peace. Reflectors, I'm sorry, I don't also remember. That was just like a sign. Those are not my notes right now. Sign. Anyways, those like parts, this whole ramble, those parts of your human design are so important. Like I feel as though my world makes more sense knowing that I'm a manifester. And I'll say this all the time, and it makes more sense knowing, my mom is a projector, my dad is a generator, my brothers are, one's a manifesting generator and one's a generator. I don't remember which is which. Whoopsies, sorry. But like in my immediate family, everyone is a sacral being except me. When I look to my friends, I am not shocked that some of my closest girlfriends are also non-sacral beings, but I am shocked that two of my friends are manifestors too. Like, how does that even happen? And this is like way before, one of them I've known since second grade. Like, how have we been the same type this whole time? And my other friend, I met her through a friend. She married one of our friends, and she's also a manifestor. So I'm like, that's so, to me, just because it's like a small piece of the population, I think it's so interesting. Other people would probably think that's pretty cool as well. And knowing, yeah, I've looked up lots of friends and family, and then it makes sense. And I can almost, and even coworkers too, at my muggle job, I think I was the only non-sacral, which makes sense because like they're so good at what they do. They've got that like boom 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 energy. but once you get really familiar with this stuff and like the people in your life, you can almost pick out the people in your life. You're like, you're definitely, it's like those people that need their time alone and need to rest and things like that. It's a fun game to play. Like, let's guess everyone's human design type. Someday in the future, that is going to be common knowledge as like everyone knows their sun sign. Well, that's easier to figure out. But like, oh, my sun is in Virgo or my sun is in Scorpio. But there's so much more to that. And instead of, I'm not going to ramble on until astrology today, but I really think, like, obviously you're listening to this, you know your sun sign. If you don't know your rising sign, I would go look up your rising sign because that's super important. I would argue that's almost as important to know as, you know, your human design type when you're starting out, because then things just make more sense because your rising sign is like how people are seeing you and like how you come across, which is also important to know. Oh, especially, you know, if you're an entrepreneur, entrepreneur, Jesus, I have to stop talking when I start rambling, but I appreciate you all so much. This is going to actually air the week I have my first in-person event, which I will be, yeah, I want to recap on this definitely for sure. So, because I'm so excited for it. But if you happen to be listening to this in real time, I am offering those same readings. So all that stuff we just talked about, basically, I will go off on your own chart and have the your own little recording and get that delivered to you before Thanksgiving. So it's the exact same thing that I'm going to do Friday. I'm very excited. It's going to be, you know, the vibes are going to be high and it's going to be awesome. And talking about, you know, those basic pieces and those important pieces of human design, how to incorporate them in your life, like finding out other things that like or your attention is drawn to, like what you intuitively want to hear more about or want to learn more about, and then having a card pool because that is always super fun too. So thank you so much for listening today. I plan on having some fun episodes in November, December. I actually have recorded one with my daughter, so that was really funny and it's cute. And I'm excited for that to come out. And then plan on, you know, keeping it light during the holiday season, end of the year, and wishing you guys a wonderful rest of your week.